But that's how people's lives are. They play it safe the whole time. They're afraid to let go of fear. They're afraid of going into the deep end, where it's safe. What's interesting is if you jump into the deep end of the pool versus the more shallow and, the 4 foot, and your feet aren't hitting the bottom. You have to keep moving. You have to keep kind of treading water to keep your head afloat. And we would much rather stay in the shallow end of the pool where our feet are touching the bottom of the pool and we're safe and we can move around freely and there's no challenge. And I think what happens is the thought of going from the shallow end to the deep end, people catastrophize that. I think the thought of the deep end is actually worse than the actual deep end. The thought of quitting your job and firing your boss actually is more catastrophic than actually quitting your job and firing your boss. And one of the things that keeps us from doing that is fear. Fear holds us back from everything. You've seen the question, like, what would you do if you had absolutely no limitations, if you had absolutely no fear? What kind of things would you do? And people will tell you the kind of things that they would pursue. And it's nothing like what they currently are doing. And what's holding them back is fear. I was helping a friend move an entertainment center. You remember entertainment centers? Remember
Yes.
those things like you put like
Gigantic.
they're huge, they're heavy, they're made of that
Yep.
particle board, and they're like an armoire kind of thing, open barn
Yep.
doors and shelves and stereo systems and TVs and home theaters, crazy stuff.
The
And
TV
we're
alone weighed 200 pounds. It took
oh,
three
the
men to get
TVs
it
were
upstairs.
they were painful, man, painful, and
Oof.
no easy way to carry it either.
Nope, no handles on them.
None. So I remember helping a friend move, just going through a divorce, and he moved into a second floor apartment, and we're carrying that. And this is 20, 25 years ago. We're carrying that entertainment center up a flight of steps. There was a little landing and then another 6 steps. So rather, it wouldn't go up around on the landing around the corner and then up the other 6. We had to go up over the railing. And
Oh.
so I had this thing kind of resting on my belt and I'm holding it. And he's at the other end, of course, and he's up like 4 steps more than I am. I was on the lower end and it kept slipping. And I'm like, shit. And I just knew if I slip, I'm going down the stairs and this thing's coming after me is going to crush me, at the bottom of the stairs. And he said something. He said, man, he says, you're catastrophizing right now because you got to just let go of fear, man. Just take a breath. He goes, and we're going to lift, let go of fear. I swear to God, this is not woo woo bullshit or I'm not getting weird spiritual or anything like that on you. He said, on the count of 3, he goes like this: let go of fear. And that thing levitated. And I'm not saying there was anything supernatural going on. It was just that little pep talk help me have a better grip, more leverage. And that sucker just rose right up. Let go of fear, let go of fear, let go of fear, let go of fear, up and over the railing. And it was amazing what happened when I stopped at what could possibly happen. I stopped focusing on death at the bottom of the stairs being crushed by an entertainment center. And I let go of fear. And what happened was that thing just literally levitated over the railing onto the second floor. And it was because I let go of fear. What keeps people from firing their boss and quitting their job is like what our last episode said, the illusion of job security, and also letting go of fear. They want to stay in the shallow end. They don't know how to operate if their feet can't touch the bottom of the pool. They wouldn't know what to do if they couldn't touch the bottom of the pool. So there's this weird little security that we have by going to underpaying jobs. You always do better when you go on your own. Always, 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 always. You might make a few dollars less at first, but the reality is you are free to make more money. Whereas if you're working a job, a Monday through Friday job, you're not free to make more money. It's capped. Doesn't matter. You can work your ass off, especially if you get a salary. I hate salaries. I can't stand salaries.
Yeah.
A salary says this: okay, we'll give you $900 a week. And then the natural inclination of all human beings is, okay, $900 a week if I work a little bit or if I work a lot. If I work a lot and work really hard, I can't turn that 900 into 1200. It stays at 900. So what happens is you kind of like find your level where you can just get by and do the least amount of work to keep that $900 a week coming in. And people love that. They go to work every day, they get their $900 every week, and that's considered security. And they don't have to fear. Would they ever quit? No, because they say things like, well, this is where I get my benefits from. Or my wife won't let me quit. What? Like, don't even get me going on that one either. But the reality is the fear that people have, it's, what did someone, it was either like Zig Ziglar or someone said, fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
Real. Yep.
And the shit that's in our head is actually more horrifying than what's in reality. We catastrophize as human beings. I don't know why that happens, but we all do it. We all catastrophize. We think, I couldn't do that, or what if I did that, or what if the parachute doesn't open up, that type of thing. Well, pack your chute, man. You pack your chute. You be in charge of what happens on your way out of the plane, not some stranger who packed your chute. So firing your boss isn't something you just get pissed off one day and go in and say to the boss, take this job and shove it. Firing your boss means that you prepare ahead of time, start a side hustle, start having some income, make your first dollar like they used to. Hey, do stores put a dollar bill on the wall next to the cash register anymore? Remember that? Pizza shops, barber shops, you'd always see that first dollar in a frame, like the first dollar they earned, and it's on the wall somewhere. I don't even know if anyone does that anymore. But once you make your first dollar, I don't care if it's flipping a hammer on eBay. I don't care if it's going to Goodwill and spending $100 and selling it everything on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and making $300. Making your first dollar communicates to you in an unconscious way that you can do this. You have the ability to do this, and that you don't have to depend on others. Frank, how do you let go of fear? I know you've walked away from some things in your lifetime, and you are now the formerly bankrupt truck driver from New Jersey who went to make a six-figure income doing online marketing, as you said, for many episodes of Fire Your Boss. Tell us about letting go of fear.
Well, I think I've had to do that over and over again with each job. I remember working for the machine shop that I talked about in the last episode, and my girlfriend at the time, we got married, and she was pregnant, so we got married, did the right thing there. Then I started driving like a beverage truck, like a Coca-Cola truck, but full of spring water. Guess what? I didn't even know how to drive stick shift, and I got the job. I talked my way into it. Thank God they didn't road test me. Here I am going down the road, right?
Yeah.
Sorry about the truck, but I didn't do it that bad. It didn't break down or anything. I learned. Then the next thing I did, I was like, all right, we're having this kid. This isn't paying enough. I'm going to go learn how to drive tractor trailer. My uncle did it. My grandfather did it. I wanted to do it too. Man, I walked out there that first day. The truck was like 30 feet high and 200 feet long. I said, how the hell am I going to drive this thing around a parking lot? Never mind down a mountain at 65 or whatever. Well, you know what? Yeah, you're a little scared at first, but you get in there and do it. And the doing is what cures the scaredness. First of all, the doing is what eliminates the thinking. You'll never think yourself out of being scared unless you're really good and that sort of really in control of yourself. But the doing and just doing the freaking thing, jump out of the airplane, this and that. People want to stay in the shallow end of the pool. You know what happens when you dive into the shallow end of the pool where you think it's safe, or you jump into the shallow end of the pool? You bang your ass on the bottom and you break your back. That's what happens. When you jump in the deep end, as long as you know how to swim, you go down, you come back up, you start paddling. Even if you need to go to the side of the pool and take a break and catch your breath, you're still safe, aren't you? Right? Oh my goodness, yes. Now, I'm going to say something. Anything entrepreneurial, like anything in life, is 90% psychology and only 10% technique, George. Now, that's not an excuse for sloppiness or shoddiness, but it's the truth. And the fact is, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And first of all, I'm going to say two things here. Number one, if you let friends, family, and strangers talk to you the way you talk to yourself, you'd punch them in the face or you'd never speak to them again, or you'd punch them in the face and never speak to them again. And yet all day long, we do it to ourselves. The thing to keep in mind here is you're the only person that lives with yourself 24/7, 365. You're the only person that hears the shit that you tell yourself, that you're not good enough, that you're not this, that you're not that, that you're not the other thing. Who was I to try to drive a tractor trailer? Who was I to advance myself? Who was I to go over the fence back in 1996 driving for P. Jack's Trucking Company? Who was I? Well, you know what I did? I said, F that, man. I'm getting out of this biz. Instead of listening, well, I should say, after Howard Stern went off the radio in the morning, because at that time I was a devout Sternish, right? Howard Stern went off at 10:30. Baby, the Amway tapes, the Zig Ziglar tapes, the Amway train tapes, Zig Ziglar, this one, that one, Robert Allen, this one, that one, Mitch Axelrod, whoever. I listened to every tape, cassette tape back then that I could get my hands on. And once Stern was over, and even towards the end, I was like, I don't even need to listen to him anymore, man. This shit's better, you know? So I just listened, and I got myself so immunized, so bulletproof, that when I went back to my terminal at night and I would tell somebody what I was trying to do, hey, man, how's your day? What are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to a conference in DC because I'm out of here in 3 months to open up my own business. Oh, you can't do that. That stuff doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Dude, didn't matter. I was immunized. And you know, one of the most sad things I saw after I quit my job, I think I was driving on Route 287 in New Jersey at rush hour, but going the opposite way because I had somewhere to go. I see the same drivers in the same trucks stopped in the same traffic a year later that I would have been stuck in along with them. And my last part-time job, I love driving. I just didn't like working for other people. It figures the last job I have actually had a decent boss and I love the job, right? I quit in August of 96. They call me in November 96 and they go, Frank, I know you open your own business, but could you do us a favor and come back to work 2 days, 3 days a week? We got so much freight. We know you're a good driver. Can you just help us out? I'm like, babe, I would love to, but I am going to lose money to go to work for you. Right. And you don't think I could have said, oh, you know what? Maybe I want to keep that side business. You know, maybe I just should drive for them 1 day a week just to keep that franchise going. No, you're not. Well, last episode, you're not safe anywhere. I made my mind up. I do what the Vikings do. I burnt my boat. I wasn't coming back. You know, I wasn't coming back. So I'm just saying, other people talk to you like you talk to yourself, you would smack them with a wet fish and say, get out of here, man. That's what would happen. But you do it to yourself.
I agree. You know, when I think about starting something, it takes risk. You got to risk. Two stories here. I remember hearing on, I think it was the Rush Limbaugh show. He had a bunch of people, and he rarely did live things. He was a master of his own microphone and kind of playing the game on his own field. But one time he did a entrepreneurial show, and he had like 10 or 12 people in a semicircle sitting on like stools, like bar stools. And he had a microphone and he was asking questions to them, kind of like a panel thing. And he said, what is the number one quality, the number one that you need to have? What is the number one thing you need to do to succeed in business? And they were all very successful entrepreneurs. And he just handed the microphone to the first one. Then they went around. First person said, probably risk. Second person, oh, definitely risk. Third person, risk. Everyone agreed that risk is the number one thing that needs to happen. I just had a Facebook memory come up, and I'm embarrassed to even say this. Came up from like 12 years ago, where I had posted on Facebook that the fortunes that have been made since World War II in this country were made by people who brought nothing to the table but risk. They weren't highly capitalized. They didn't get a lot of investors. There wasn't angel investors in those days. They brought nothing to the table but risk. I would ask the audience, are you risk averse? Are you afraid to risk. And I think once you lose that, it's like that one meme that was going around on Facebook and social media a few years ago, where uh, there's a person standing on the edge of a cliff, and there's this like voice coming out of the sky, and the person is yelling up to the voice. I don't know, it might have been God or some, that kind of thing. Like, what if I fall? And the response was, well, what if you fly?
Yeah.
And I think we are the first ones to come up with all the reasons why we can't do it. Us. And the ones that are closest to us can come up with 100 reasons why we can't do it. That's why I think the closest of friends and the closest of family are not the ones to really consult with. That's the beauty of a mastermind group. Very, very few times have I seen a mastermind group all disagree with somebody when someone talks about their dream. And that's the beauty of a mastermind group, is that you get people who are the you can do it people. And when you're surrounded by 8, 10, 12, you can do it people. And if you need help, give me a call. It's almost impossible to fail if you have that kind of personal board of directors. Jonesy, what do you think?
Wow. You teed me up for some good stuff here. I'm excited to follow both of you on that.
Yeah.
Especially when you talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. And I was actually going to bring up the personal board of directors, because we talk about that literally in module 1 of the Fire Your Boss Blueprint as a complete core necessity. And your personal board of directors, it's a mix that's going to be very personalized to yourself, the people that are in your life, and hopefully some new people. I think you do want to be open with your friends and family about what you're going to do, and take their initial reaction as a barometer about their involvement going forward. Because they can give you some objective things and concerns to think about, but they should not be limiting your beliefs and your dreams. It pretty much goes into those 2 boxes right there. I'm not saying fire your friends or fire your family, but involving them in your new venture or dream is not a good thing. Go low contact, or don't discuss it with them after that point. Surround yourself with people who are going to encourage your dream and who are going to help you systematically get there. Masterminds, us, the Fire Your Boss community, the conversion chemistry community. We are all about yes, you can, yes, you will, but there are ways to go about it and ways not to. And man, I mean that from every context, because every entrepreneur's journey and dream is going to take a different path, even from a financial standpoint. Now, a lot of what we do is create organic growth companies out of nothing, and leveraging that growth and leveraging impact and leveraging the conversion chemistry to reinvest and grow in the business organically. But that's not to say that, you had talked about, George, you had talked about getting angel investors, venture capital. I can go out and get an SBA loan. All right. This all depends on your individual creditworthiness and the amount of work that you put into your business plan. Business plan is in module 3 of the Fire Your Boss Blueprint. You could theoretically get an SBA loan and pay yourself with that. All right. Very individualistic. I don't deal with that side of things myself. I am an absolute artist and surgeon in organic growth. I know this because I do that for my clients. I know that because I've done it for myself 4 times. 4 times is not an accident. I'm 1,000% confident in my ability to help you do the same thing. Anyway, we can connect you with the people who are well equipped to help you navigate through finances, funding, venture capitalists, angel investors, SBA loans, right? I don't really need to deal with that, because one of my things is real estate, and that's basically the leverage I need to fund something else. Anyway, it's a little bit off topic, but it's not, because that's something I did when I overcame my fear of jumping into the deep end. One is that fear was mitigated because I did start my side hustle over a decade ago, and I made it a legitimate business entity 4.5 years ago. So I had already planted the seed, and that sapling had turned into a full plant or a fruit bearing tree. I don't know. I'm like pulling analogies out of my ass right now. Metaphors.
There's a picture.
Yeah. Was it less terrifying to quit my last job because I already had an income producing side hustle? Of course it was, because my goal was, all right, I'm going to scale this. So some coaches, and depending on your circumstance, will tell you quit now and jump into the deep end. and you're going to win, you're going to succeed because you have to. And there is a great degree of truth to that, because it's the same thing as working for somebody else. You have to. You have family to support, yourself to support, your goals that you want to achieve, your money that you need to be able to do things you want to do has to happen. And regardless if you're working for somebody else or working for yourself, it has to happen. So you remove the working for somebody else, now working for yourself, you're going to find a way to make it happen. Now, I am highly risk averse unless I have leverage and unless I have, I'm hedging against it, have backup plans, have exit plans, all of which I always have at pretty much any given time. So I encourage everybody to take inventory of what you have. We teach you how to build a side hustle with what you have now. Everything you already have now is all you need. Take inventory of what you have. That's your finances. That's your assets. That's your support system, your credit worthiness. And from there, you will have your pathway going forward about which is the right direction to go in. So for me, for example, is I established my side hustle. And the last job I worked at was with the best employer I had ever worked for. Fancy that. And it was still at that point where I said, I can't take this anymore, which for me is the pain of staying outweighed the pain of the potential future.
Yeah.
And that was my turning point.
That's where most people have to get to, because I've been teaching that for years, Jonesy, until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of having to change. Most people just won't do it.
Right. And you can, make yourself feel that way, especially when you realize that fear is, being terrified, catastrophizing stuff that has not come to pass. So it's basically non-existent. And you apply that mentality to, I can certainly do better than this. Change it from pain of what I'm experiencing now, outweighing the pain of the future, or vice versa, and say, no, I know I can do better than this. And back to security, back at cushions and all that. Like I said, take inventory of what you have. And, with a certain amount of credit worthiness, you can get funding, and you can get funding that you necessarily don't need to use. It's better to have that funding available and not need it than needing it and not having it. So there's one safety net right there is, establish your connections with your local banks, whatever. I love equally my local bank and American Express, one of the largest financial institutions out there. Why? Because both of them give me lines of credit. And, it's a safety net, it's leverage. If you're having a lean month, you can pay yourself with a line of credit. You can reinvest money back in your business. Any infinite amount of ways to do it. Take it to start another business. Take some funding to start another business. All right, not an accountant, not an attorney, but there's a lot of ways that you can do that. I bought a commercial building, a rental property, with $0 out of my pocket using funding, credit, lines of credit, credit cards on my first business. So it starts somewhere. The ultimate safety net is, welcome to the United States, folks. If you fail, you get your mulligan in the form of a bankruptcy, which I was close, but through some magic, it did not happen 15 years ago. And Frank, you wear that like a badge of honor. So I would actually implore you to give some anecdotes about, bankruptcy being the American mulligan. Is, if you fail, so what? Here's your fresh start. And I know it's not that clean cut, but it is the reality that you will not end up on streets due to the bankruptcy laws.
No, and I tell you what, it was embarrassing at the time, but I didn't even want to do it. My ex was like, listen, we paid all these people. You've tried all these things. They've already made all the money that you owe them. Now it's just like 20 and 30% interest you're giving them. And it took me a while because I was proud. I didn't want to go bankrupt. But you know what? 2-3 years later, we had a brand new house in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. And yeah, I had to put 20% down instead of 5% because I was self-employed, not because I had gone bankrupt 3 years ago, but because I was self-employed. So right there, what does that say about the banking industry? They think it's better to go bankrupt than to try to open your own business. It's less risky. They can understand going bankrupt. And it was my get out of jail free card. I didn't take it lightly. I'm a guy, man. I like to create and build. I don't want to tear down and wreck. And it felt like I was giving up on everybody. So I had to get my head around that. But you know what? Two best career moves I ever made in my life. Well, 3. 1, going bankrupt. 2, learning how to drive a truck and a tractor trailer. Because now you got the bankrupt truck driver And then number 3 is firing my own boss. And like you, and I've said this before, my last boss was great. I wish I could find him now. I would honestly send the dude a thank you card and say, you know what, man, I was there 2 years part-time. You were so nice to me. You were fair to me. And when they needed something extra, like I remember one night, it was like Friday night. I was in Jersey City, 5, 6 o'clock at night. They go, hey, we need you to run out to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, which is about a third of the way across PA, drop an empty trailer and come back here. You think I want to do that on a Friday night for anybody? No, this guy did it for because that's how good a boss he was. And I still had to let him go because he was cramping my financial style. You go, all right. There
So
you
here we go.
Jonesy.
Letting go of fear was the topic and wading into the deep end. Frank, give me an action item for the audience, something that somebody can act on, let's say as early as today. What can a person do today after listening to this podcast to help them let go of fear and get themselves into the deep end and start experiencing the rewards of not working for a boss? Give an action item.
Well, they can go to the library, a used bookstore, or Amazon, and they can buy this book here, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter, and they can start reading it and highlighting it and taking freaking notes and acting on it. That's what they can do. Or they can go to a used bookstore, library, or Amazon and buy The Power from Rhonda Byrne. These 2 books, I mean, I got a bunch of them here, but you see how they're always within arm's reach, George?
Yeah.
If I have to reboot my computer, you know what I do? Here's what I do, man. That's what I do to my books. See all that highlighting, right? So then I can go back, and when I'm rebooting or I'm waiting for somebody to call me back, I'll spend 3 to 5 minutes just petting myself up, even 28 years in the game. Because again, the only person that can talk me out of success or into success is me. And the sooner you learn that, dear listener, the better off you're going to be. The only person that can screw up your life is you. Other people can give you hiccups and bumps in the road, but the only person that's going to knock you down flat is yourself and your own self-confidence and your own belief in yourself.
Jonesy, give us an action item.
Wow. I got to follow that. Action item. Start creating some fear busting routines. Do something tomorrow, do something tonight. It's Friday. These episodes drop on Friday, right? Fire Your Boss Fridays. Go do something different that you've never done before. And this will get you into the mindset of, hey, I survived that. I didn't do it for whatever reason. Go to Top Golf, go play some pickleball, go to karaoke, join a book club, something that's a little bit out of your wheelhouse. That's something you've never done before and therefore probably a little bit uncomfortable. You're going to survive it. You're going to, open up some new neural pathways that let you experience something new and it'll be exciting. And you haven't done it before. And you build on that. You repeat that small steps at a time. Then you set your date, your freedom date. So 2-parter, 2 things you're going to do.
I like that. I remember in the movie, I think it was called Three Kings, George Clooney, Spike Jonze, and Ice Cube. And there was a scene in there where they were under fire and they had to get from point A to point B. And one guy said, he says, I'm scared, I can't do it. And he says, it doesn't work like that. He says, you have to do what scares the shit out of you, then you get the courage. And I'll never forget that. And that movie must have came out maybe in 1990. It's not a new movie. It's been around for a while. Mm-hmm. Doing what scares the shit out of you, then you get the courage. You don't wait to get the courage first. You don't generate or psych yourself up and then do it. You do it, and then you realize, well, that didn't kill me. It was almost like, like a jumping in the pool, and the kid says, I can't do it. The parent says, just jump in. And then the kid does it, and then the parent always says, no, it wasn't that hard, now was it? And 9 times out of 10, what you want to do isn't that hard. So I will echo Jonesy and say, set a date. If there's no date on it, it's just a nagging wish. My date for leaving what I want to do is January 1st. If I can do it by November 1st and December 1st, I will. But the long date for me is January 1st. And it's kind of like do or die. And do I get a little bit nervous about it? Yeah. But I think the thought of it is actually worse than it. That's what I think. I'll give you gentlemen the final word.
You know what? It really it is. This journey is like jumping in the pool. Once you do it, you're going to realize you survived, and it ain't so bad. And actually, it's kind of nice because now I'm swimming freely, and then you're never going to get out of the pool.
Mm.
For me, I would say just remember what I said before. If anybody else was to come up to you and say the stuff that you tell yourself about yourself, you would punch them in the face and you'd never speak to them again. So that book that I showed you, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, that's not just window dressing or some airy fairy stuff. That book teaches you to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I believe in you. You can do this. I know you can do this. We've all got that wounded inner child, whether we want to admit it or not. That book picks him up or her up, brushes them off brushes their shoulders off, stands them on their feet, and moves them forward. It's the same thing with the power, just vibrating, not woo-woo wise, but energetically on the right level. We could talk about that some other episode, but it's time to go.
I like that. Gentlemen, thank you for spending time with us today and with the audience, the friendly acquaintances that are out there. I would say set a date, 3 months, 6 months. We are here for you. Go to fireyourboss.win, use the promo code Bruno, and you'll get 75% off. Yes, 75% off. Check it out, fireyourboss.win. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Jonesy. And we'll see all of you on the next episode of Fire Your Boss.